One day I will have a Packy skull right here.
Well, I know where to find one.
I do too.
What does it represent? Yo.
I was gonna write you an email, but I'm a little drunk and spelling is a sober person's game. So I feel I owe you a splanation. I'm sorry. A splanation.
Let's sink our veins into this topic. After I burp. That'll just ruin the mood.
Yeah.
I was going great guns there with sink our veins, and then,
Do you want to start over?
nah, you're going to leave the burp in anyway. Probably. Maybe. I'm just that cool. I can pull
You'll
off.
just have to wait and see.
I can pull off a cool burp.
Eh. Eh.
I'd say I could pull off a cool jerk, but then you'd think I was talking about the bell end.
Yeah. No, he's not a cool jerk. He's just a bellend.
Well, the cool jerk was the action.
Sweet
So.
summer child. And sweet as custard and just as smart.
You're about as sharp as a bowling ball, ain't you there, Eunice? Welcome back, our fellow agents. I am X7, your living agent of anime of awesome. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host who chose this topic and knows way more about it than I do, the living encyclopedia herself, Lilith Draco.
Hi, welcome back. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave us a comment.
I decided I should wear my Dracula ring.
You should. Nice.
Oh, speaking of Dracula, we are going to... I don't have a proper introduction here.
I
You wanna take
do.
over?
So let me take over. So, as you saw in our last episode, we talked about a fictional supervillain. Which I love the supervillains. I love the villains. They're usually my favorite characters a lot of the times. But I thought that maybe we could do a part 2 of supervillains and talk about a real life supervillain. So I chose the villain to talk about, and so we are going to talk about Countess Elizabeth Bathory. Do you know much about her, X7?
Most everything I've learned about her has been gleaned from movies and what I know about vampires in general, because obviously she is very cinematic. And Hammer Films, when they were reinventing the horror genre in the 60s, naturally gravitated toward the Bloody Baroness or the Bloody Countess. She's got several sobriquets that people throw at her, nom de plume. But I don't know a lot about her historically. I know she was a real person.
Yes.
And just right before we started recording, I found out there was a whole family. So that's about it. Everything else, you will be enlightening me and
Yes.
our wonderful viewers on.
So we're going to do a basic dive into her. I have done a lot more studying on her because for years and years and years, she has been one of the historical characters, historical real people that I would love to sit down and have a conversation with. She has fascinated me for a long time. And the first time I was introduced to her was probably about 20-ish years ago. I saw a documentary talking about where the idea of Count Dracula came from. And so she has been one of those real historic people that her life was part of the idea of Dracula. And I love vampires and I love Dracula. And so I saw this and I had to then start looking more into her. So she is one of those people for me. Even though she allegedly is one of the worst female serial killers, she has just fascinated me, and I just want to talk to her and find out why. Where were you at? What were you thinking? What, tell me.
As the Swedish chef would say, vert de Ferk.
Vert de Ferk. So, Countess Elizabeth Bathory was born August 7th, 1560, in Hungary. I would try to pronounce the city, but I can't even. It's awful. Hungary. She died August 21st, 1614. Now, that may be slightly off because that's when her body was found, and we'll get there, but that's when her body was found. She died in Kakite Castle in Slovakia. She was 54 years old when she died. Her parents were Anna Bathory and George VI Bathory. She had a sibling, which was Stephen Bathory, and as we'll learn while I'm explaining her history, she has an uncle with that same name as well. She married Ferenc Nadasty, that's terrible, and they married in 1575 through 1604. She was 15, he was 19.
Jeez, well, at least he wasn't 90.
Right. So she does have a couple nicknames. The Blood Countess. And she also is the Bloody Lady of Kakite. Elizabeth was a famous Hungarian countess and an alleged serial killer. She was accused of torturing and killing many, many young women. She was put on trial and imprisoned until her death in 1614. Elizabeth was born into a prominent Protestant nobility in Hungary. Her family controlled Transylvania, and her uncle, Stephen Bathory, was king of Poland.
Jeez.
In 1575, again, she was 15, she married Count Ferenc Nadasty. It's awful, I'm so sorry.
It's probably a version of Francis or Frank.
Maybe.
Frank Ferdinand. Could be any of those.
He was a member of another powerful Hungarian family. She moved into Castle Kakite, and it was a wedding gift from the husband's family. The husband took her name because her family was a better off family, a more well-known, a more powerful family. So he ended up taking her name instead of her taking his. After her husband's death in 1604, rumors of Bathory's cruelty began to surface. So there was nothing before the husband died. Everything was done afterwards. Now, this is allegedly, so I think the tendencies were still there, but maybe she didn't have as much control. Once her husband died, there was that more freedom to do things in secret and quiet. That's my thought.
I think that that's probably true.
Because it doesn't just suddenly start. The inklings are always there.
I mean, if we'll never know. We weren't there.
No.
you have record. They have records, but yeah, what you said. If they're if she's because royal families were notoriously inbred,
Yes.
marrying so that they could stay pure blood.
Yes.
And I mean, even the English family. I mean,
Right.
so yes. So I think that your hypothesis is probably not far off.
Right. So there were several accounts of peasant women going missing, but they were peasant women, so those were just ignored. But there were claims that came about in 1609 that she had slain women from noble families, and that is what attracted the attention by this
Of course,
community.
the rich
The
people,
rich people.
bastards.
Matthias, then king of Hungary, ordered her cousin, Grigory, which might be Gregory, a version of Gregory, Grigory, Thurzo, that's not even how to pronounce it, but whatever. He was the Count Palestine of Hungary, so he investigated. Like, he was the lead investigator, the lead law enforcement, basically. So in his investigation, he took depositions from people living in the area surrounding her estate. The Count Palatine determined that Bathory had tortured and killed more than 600 girls with the help of her servants. On December 30th, 1609, Bathory and her servants were arrested. The servants were put on trial in 1611, so it took a couple years. 3 of them were executed. However, Elizabeth Bathory, because she's a countess and her family is so well known, she was never tried, but was confined to her chambers at Castle Coquette. She remained there until she died, and that's when they found her body. They don't know if the room was just locked from the outside, if there was a barricade to where, I mean, they'd have to feed her every now and right, but
Right. Yeah.
and so once they discovered her body, she was initially buried in the crypt on her estate, but then later her body was likely moved. And there's nothing that says where the body is that I could find. I would have to really, really dig deep.
And she's probably out wandering the countryside anyway.
Oh, I'm sure. So some of the things that she was accused of, and again, it's allegedly,
Right.
but some of the things she was accused of was covering the victim's body in honey and left them outside for the insects to devour. And in the colder parts of the year, she would strip the victim naked and forced into deadly ice baths. She would drive needles into their fingers, cutting their noses or lips, whipped them with stinging nettles. She would bite their shoulders and breasts, and she burned their flesh, including the genitals. There's a lot of ideas out there and thoughts that she also drank and bathed in the blood of these young women, but those were not in any documents like these other things. So we don't know for sure if she actually did that, but her doing that is part of what made her part of the history and lore of creating Dracula, was her drinking and bathing in the blood of women, thinking that was going to keep her young.
It's apocryphal is what it is. I mean, told afterwards that
Yes.
Can't prove it.
So those stories came about 100 years after she was dead, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there are people now looking into her case back then and trying to figure out and seeing if she's actually guilty of it. And there are a lot of people who think because there was a bunch of political stuff going on in that time that she was used as a pawn or a scapegoat, or they accused her falsely even though she was found guilty, kind of a thing. And so there are groups of people going back and looking at all of these documents and trying to clear her name of these crimes. So that's why I stress allegedly
Right.
she is the worst female serial killer ever.
Well, there's
It
always
just fascinates me.
there's historical figures always are never. I mean, it's never black and white, no matter what. So, I mean, we'll never know. And the people, I mean, there are apologists for everything
Oh yes.
that want to say no, she was oppressed, she was meant. I mean, she could have had. I mean, if any of it, even if a tenth of it is true, she had some obvious mental issues.
Oh yeah.
You know, as I said, inbreeding from
Yes.
royals or upper class families can happen. So yeah, I think that they'll never know. So anyone who's
No.
going to declare something definitively is blowing smoke somewhere they shouldn't be, unless you like it, and then go ahead.
Right.
I think it depends on what kind of smoke, I suppose. But it's fascinating, though. I mean, the whole thing.
It is fascinating, and I just something about her just I've always just been drawn to since first learning about her. Like I just want to know
skin still
more
looks-
and study more, and she's just. But again, I love I love serial killers and learning about why they did what they did. Like what messed you up? Like how did you feel? Because you don't actually know when you don't have that mindset. Like how could somebody just turn their brain off and their emotions off to do something like that over and over and over and be fine with it and not, be terrorized nightly with the memories of what you just know. Like, I don't understand that, and I want to.
Well, understanding is key to, helping, probably.
Yes. So she was a real person, and she falls under the supervillain, and nobody ever, unlike Vlad the Impaler, who was also part of the Dracula lore, he was a hero. She was never a hero to anybody. She was just evil and demonic and...
As in fruits of the devil.
Right. And I've always had a desire to go to her castle and to have somebody barricade me in that room and let me spend the night just in the room. And let me experience what I experience. I just want to do that. I can't explain why. Hoping for her ghost to appear, but I really think it would be interesting to be locked into that room where she lived the last years of her life and died. I also want to go to Vlad the Impaler's castle and get shut in his
Is Castle Dracula still a thing?
Huh?
Incidentally, the Romanian, Transylvania's in Romania now.
Yes.
Romania was renamed after the Romans took it over. And it was originally called Dacia, which is where Dacia's name came from.
Nice.
Like that. Because I met this woman at a show when I was on assignment in San Diego there. And her name was Dasa, or that's what she told me. And she said, "Well, it's really Dacia, but I hate that." And then when I got Dacia, that was like, oh, I think that should be. I did not know about the Dacian Empire, and it was an empire till the Romans showed
Yeah.
up and took it over. So all of that. So I have kind of and Dacia did have a bit of a fang thing going on, and she bit through my finger once. Bit
Nice.
through the fingernail and everything. Poor little spud.
Ouch. Ouch.
It healed better than I thought it would, but she had fleas.
That's good.
And got me instead of the flea. That was during my last assignment at the end times in San Diego, which,
Right.
as you know, were so much fun. Poor little trooper. She was such a trooper. Poor little spud. Anyway.
Is there any interesting fiction
Oh my gosh.
thoughts
the
about
fiction-
her that you want to mention? I mean, I
Well-
know there's tons, but is there anything that's like,
The only thing I mean, she's inspired, numerous stories and fairy tales. As far as the writing of Dracula by Bram Stoker, there's no notes of his that mention her. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that every culture has a vampire to it.
right?
The Chinese, the English, the Filipinos have their vampire. Every culture has that sort of blood drinker.
Yes.
And we're creatures, men that turn into other animals or women, as the case may be.
And then sometimes writers are guided by Mormon Jesus to make them beautiful and sparkling in the sun, which is completely wrong.
She's been in. I see like the ones I would have seen would have been up to like the first. I'm pretty sure I've seen Daughters of Darkness and Countess Dracula because I think those are both. Countess Dracula is a Hammer movie, and that has Ingrid Pitt in it, and they were more about vampire women biting each other.
Yeah.
Whatever you will. But they're still gorgeous movies, whether they make any sense or not. And by the
Yeah.
70s, Hammer was floundering. But
See, and I've only ever watched documentaries on her.
yeah, so
Like I've not looked, I've not tried, because I want, when it comes to her, because I'm so fascinated, I want real life. I don't need movies. I want real information.
yeah, but the movies can be fun.
Yeah, they can, but
You have to. I mean, and I get that. As someone who watches martial arts movies and then thinks about them way too much.
right.
So I do understand that something you love has to be or should be as close to. I mean,
Real
you should
then.
have seen your
no,
young
yeah.
agent watching the 70s Hulk show.
Right.
Yes, so I completely understand, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
Yes.
But or any superhero show from the 70s.
Yes.
Follow his particular vision. Anyway, yes, so I mean, the movies are fun, but they will take the name and then run in a completely
Oh
different
yeah.
way, which is what they do with everything.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. All right. Shall we wrap this up?
I think so. Excellent job. That's was a lot of information and concisely delivered. I tell you, she's the walking encyclopedia, at least of
See, this is-
vampires.
I do love vampires.
Including
Again, not the sparkly, stupid ones. The more gruesome, the better for me. I like the gruesome. Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
why I mentioned some of the things that she did to her victims, allegedly, is because when I am looking into a serial killer or evil person, I want the details because I think for me, the details matter because somebody could be evil and just,
It's true.
blow you quickly through the brain and you die quickly. Like, I don't know. I just want to know how brutal they are because it changes the idea of that person. The more brutal, the worse off that they are. And I don't know.
'Cause they're
I
putting
can't
conscious
explain it.
thought into it.
I want to know the details.
If you're
the-
just putting your a gun against somebody's head and shooting them and then going on about your business, that's one thing. But if you're torturing them,
If you're torturing,
and
you're
doing
cutting off
things-
the nose, you're cutting
there's-
off the lips, you're cutting off fingertips, you're shoving, like it gets super personal. But that's also where I want to know why I want to sit down with them and go, what's going through your brain? I just want to know what you're thinking and feeling, because how can you do this to another human being that is sitting there bawling their eyes out, begging you to stop? And that begging just drives you to go even further. Like, the mentality of it is something that I want to understand.
Yeah.
And you don't know until you actually talk to the person who did it. Because it's going to be different from each criminal.
For sure. For sure. All right.
I might be sick. Whatever. I accept it.
I might be right. She may be crazy. Yeah. When you open your eyes like that, you've got the crazy eyes going on there. Damn it.
You better hope and pray.
That you never dress that way. The glasses are bad enough when you say that word. All right. Before we get into that, our fellow agents, our fellow hellions, thank you for watching this far. We hope you've enjoyed our shallow dive into the Countess Bathory, the Bloody Baroness, whatever you want to call her.
It gets worse.
I am X7. My wonderful co-host here is always.
Lila Draco.
And remember, the sun will set on vampires, because that's just what they can't come out unless it does.
Bye. Commit to the bit.
I got beer.
I got bottled breast milk.
Why don't we start with the beer?
Okay,
So you like the beer?
I do. Although it's actually a lager.
Huh. What's the difference between beer and lager?
I don't know. We could look it up.